Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so everyone, welcome to Koilel Kol Shira. Of course, we always have to do that. Even though Rabbi Yaakov isn't here, we have to make sure we announce, right? And this is in partnership with Breslov.org and Yeshiva Teresh Shimon. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Shkoyach Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so this is always, it's always a challenge. You know, we have our hour, and it's always a challenge. What should we learn? And you know, there's so many things. We have the Parsha Tetzaveh. There's so many beautiful things in the Parsha. We have this week. We have the Parshas that we have. What do you call it? We're going to read Parsha Zocher Mitzvah Hashem on Shabbos, right? Special mitzvah. And then we're not going to meet before Purim, right? We're not going to meet again before Purim because we'll meet next week on Wednesday, which will be Shushan Purim Mitzvah Hashem. All right, so we'll learn a little bit about Purim today. We'll do the best we can, okay? So let's get started. So first of all, you know, to understand this idea, this concept of Amalek, right? That Milchama Hashem Amalek Midor Dor, right? We have to understand that really this is a battle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu fights for us in every single generation. That's what the pasuk says, right? And we have to understand this concept. Who is Amalek? What is Amalek? And you know, it's a very interesting idea that the Torah tells us we have to actually eradicate Amalek, right? That's the mitzvah, Mechias Amalek, right? That's our mitzvah. I mean, today in modern times, that's we don't understand what that means. I would say, right? We live in modern times. How would we know? What would we do? We can't walk around killing people and so on, right? But we know when Mashiach is going to come, and then we will have that mitzvah to mamash eradicate Amalek. To mamash eradicate Amalek. I always like to say that, you know, maybe that, you know, the Goyim gave us good lessons over the years on how to you know, get rid of people, right? They did a good job.
When Mashiach comes, there'll still be a Amalek we'll have to eradicate.
Yeah. We're gonna then we will be able to eradicate Amalek.
Okay. All right.
Then we will be able to. Yeah. Then we will be. Yeah. Either way, but anyway, so let's learn a little bit about Amalek. Let's learn a little bit about, you know, Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Because we learned about Amalek when with Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Remember, right? With the battle, when Moshe Rabbeinu's hands, when Moshe Rabbeinu's hands were up, we were winning. We put his hands down, we were losing, right? Then we learned the concept with his hands, because in the hands we have 14 joints in each one of our hands, right? 14 joints, right? Right? We have three in each of our fingers, and of times 4, and then we have 2 in the thumb, makes 14, right? Right? Yeah. And then together we have 2 hands, Baruch Hashem, and that's 28, and that's the thing of koyach, right? Koyach, right? We need the koyach. When we learned about that, it's koyach masav. HaKadosh Baruch Hu used the 28 letters in order to make creation. We're partnering with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we always have to understand we rely on the Rabbeinu Shalom, and that's what it is. We have to always rely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then via showing our trust in the Rabbeinu Shalom is our greatest. That's our greatest salvation. When we can show our trust in the Rabbeinu Shalom. I was learning with the guys this morning in the shir, so we were discussing, you know, the idea, you know, like today, you know, we have. You know, in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, we have a pretty strong army, Baruch Hashem, right? And we have pretty good Air Force. They say the Air Force is is probably the best one in the world, right? And so then the question is, so why is that? So I said like this. I told him that perhaps HaKadosh Baruch Hu did that because of our bechira, right? We have to always have bechira. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have bechira. What's bechira? Free choice. We have to choose. We have to choose what we're going to believe in. Are we going to believe in the government? Are we going to believe in the military? Or are we going to believe in the Rabbeinu Shalom? So I said like this: if we had no army, chas v'shalom, if we had no army, we had no Air Force, right? So then we would have no choice but to believe in the Rabbeinu Shalom, right? because we would have no one's going to help us, right? Look at the nation, look at the UN. The UN's not going to certainly help us, right? They do anything against us. Anything that they can do against Klal Yisrael, they do against Klal Yisrael. All the nations of the world, right? So we would have no choice but to trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. But the Rebbeinu Shalom wants us to have the free choice, right? He wants us to choose. He wants us to choose Him, right? But so now, if you don't have, there's only one choice. If there's only one choice, then you have to choose that one thing, right? Like, sometimes you ask the kids, you want chocolate or vanilla, right? So one kid will say, I want vanilla. The one says, want chocolate, right? But if there's only chocolate, there's only vanilla, they have no choice. They got to take that one, right? If they want it, right? True? So too.
Subset.
What?
It's subset. It's all the main category. It's only one option.
That's right. No, so that's why it's an understanding of this idea of why we have a military edge, why we have the intelligence that we have. I believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu lets us have that so we can still believe and be Mamin in Hashem, and that's what He wants from us. So look what happens over here. Look at this. We learn a beautiful Torah from Rab Nossan. Milchama LaHashem Amalek midardar. Like we said, this milchama is a milchama that Hashem wages for us every generation. What does that mean? That Hashem is fighting this battle in every generation? Let's see. Hatzadik tzarech liyas bal koya gadol me'oid v'tzarech lizboinen me'oid b'koychay. A tzaddik has to be a very powerful person, and he has to think deeply about what kind of power the tzaddik has. Im yesh lo koyach la'amid b'milchama. Can he stand up? Can he stand up to test to war? Does he have the wherewithal to do that? Now, we're not always talking about this in a physical manner. Sometimes this is in a spiritual manner. But the tzaddik always has to make that calculation. What is his ability in order to wage the war, the battle that he has to fight? V'tzorech leida im mihu nilcham, and he has to know with whom and with what he's going to wage the battle. Sometimes he can have a tzaddik that's very, very powerful. He could stand up to some big Yetzirah, some great klipa, some great husk of impurity. But sometimes the Yetzirah, the other side, the Sitra Achra can be so strong, can be so powerful. That Sitra Achra can be so powerful that unfortunately they can sometimes threaten the tzaddik. So the tzaddik has to know if he's going to battle, what he can battle. Is he powerful enough? Is he powerful enough in order to take on that battle? V'ikar klal, look what he says here. V'ikar klal, kol ha-Sitra Achra v'u'azum ha-Sanachar shu Amalek. Who is this? Who is the Sitra Achra? Who is the Zuma of the Nachash? That Nachash had Kadmaini, the impurity of that original snake. This is Amalek. Shekoilul kol ha-Sitra Achra, v'kol ha-Klipos, v'kol oivdei koichavim, sheyoin kimimenu. Amalek is the chief of all impurity, everything. All avodah zarah, all idol worship, every kind of idol worship, any kind of husks of impurity in the world, anything of impurity takes its power, takes its yoinek. It's getting its nourishment. It's getting its nourishment from Amalek directly. K'maishe Kosev, Reishis Goyim Amalek. Like the Torah says, Reishis Goyim Amalek. Reishis Goyim Amalek. Amalek says that they're the first. They're in charge. Amalek says that they're in charge. Amalek goes against the Rebbeinu Shalom. They say that they are Reishis. They are the beginning. Amalek says that they are the beginning. Shamalek kolam mikulam v'kulam yoinkim imenu. Amalek is included in all of them. They all take from him, from Amalek. V'al kein Hashem yisbarach ba'atzmai tzarech l'lul chayim imay. Therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself has to fight with them. Because again, we said that the tzaddik has to know what he can fight, what he's up against. And the tzaddik can go up against certain rishoyim, they can go against the certain sitrachas, but they can't go against the head one. That they can't do. So that's why HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'll take care of that. Milchama la'Hashem ba'Amalek midar. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I will take this on. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest tzaddik, right? Yesterday was Moshe Rabbeinu's yahrzeit, right? Zayin Adar. Moshe Rabbeinu, no one will say he was the greatest tzaddik, right? Moshe Rabbeinu was Rabban Shel Yisrael, right? Everyone agree with that? Does everyone agree with me? Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Emes v'Sayrasa Emes. It's called Tyrus Moshe. Everything we have, anything that we have, it's a Messiah from Moshe Rabbeinu. It was given over to us by Moshe Rabbeinu. All the Messiahs that we have, unbelievable idea, unbelievable. But even Moshe Rabbeinu, even him, and no one will argue that there's a greater tzaddik than Moshe Rabbeinu. No one will argue with us on that. Right? Even Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of the greatest, he couldn't he couldn't subdue him completely. He couldn't get rid of Amalek completely. But what happened? Vayachalosh Yoshua es Amalek. Yoshua was able to weaken. He was able to weaken, to cause them to lose some power to Amalek. Sheperish Rashi says over there, Shechosach Roshei Ibayrav Veloy Harge Legamri. He was able to cut off the heads of the big warriors of Amalek, Veloy Harge Legamri, but he wasn't able to get rid of them completely. He wasn't able to completely get rid of them. That's what Rashi tells us. In other words, he tried, but he couldn't get rid of them completely. So what happened? Mikan Shasu Al Pia Dibur. And therefore he went and he used Dibur. Even though Moshe Rabbeinu was arguing, no one's going to argue. It's unarguable that Moshe Rabbeinu was a great warrior in Avodas Hashem, of course. He still couldn't get rid of Amalek completely. Because if he would have tried, see, but Moshe Rabbeinu understood this. Moshe Rabbeinu knew what he can do, and he knew he couldn't go against them completely. He understood that. He didn't have permission to do that at the time. Again, we're not discussing what happened with Shaul after, right? Shaul did have, right? Shmuel HaNavi told Shaul to get rid of Amalek, right? Remember, that was a different time, if that's what you're thinking now, right? By Shmuel HaNavi, Shmuel told Shaul HaMelech to go out and to kill all of the animals and everything. Kill everything. Don't leave anything alive. Remember? And then Shaul made his mistake. He had Shaul again, the tzaddik on his level. He made the wrong calculation, and he thought they would leave. He would take the animals. But he didn't know that the Melech, the king of Amalek, was able to turn himself into a sheep, and then he left them alive, and that's why he was able to turn himself back, and so on and so on. In other words, we had the ability. We had the ability. All right, but Moshe Rabbeinu at this point didn't have the ability. Okay, he didn't have the ability at this point. Even Moshe Rabbeinu, with his great tzidkis, with his connection to the Rabbeinu Shalom, Moshe Rabbeinu, if Amalek would have came to him with its full might, if Moshe Rabbeinu would have came to him with its full might, Amalek would have flared up on Moshe Rabbeinu in such a way. He would have flared up on Moshe Rabbeinu in such a way Moshe Rabbeinu would not have been able to handle it. That's what we're learning here. Look at this. You see what he says? Kol kach sheMoshe Rabbeinu yochel lamay kinegdei. Ki klipas Amalek magia ad ein tachlis ve'ein mi sheyochel la'okre legamri. There isn't anybody that can uproot it completely. Ki im Hashem yizbarach be'ishayavay Mashiach tzidkenu. Only Hashem. And when will that happen? At the time when Mashiach arrives. When Mashiach arrives, that's when Amalek will cease to exist in the world. And therefore is incumbent upon Moshe Rabbeinu to battle with them. He had to use great wisdom. Moshe Rabbeinu used great wisdom to understand what he can do, what he can't do. He understood. He understood I can get rid of their warriors. I'll get rid of their warriors, but I can't get rid of them completely. And therefore it's a mulchama for HaKadosh Baruch Hu midar dar. Hashem is Baruch ba'atzmai. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu by himself, kiviyachol, tzarech lilchaim imai b'chol dar v'dar. HaKadosh Baruch Hu fights with Amalek in every single generation. And this comes to the idea of Purim, right? That how we saw the great salvation that happened for Klal Yisrael, and how HaKadosh Baruch Hu was behind the scenes, right? We don't find HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name in the Megillah, right? We don't find Hashem's name in the Megillah. We find some references to the Milcham, to Yud Kei Vav Kei in the Megillah, right? For example, where Haman says that as long as Mordechai is going to be sitting Bishar Amalek, and he wasn't going to be Kair Mishtachah to him, he said, V'chol zeh einenu shava li. V'chol zeh einenu shava li. V'chol zeh einenu shava li is the Rashi Tevis of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Right? You want to know how you do that? V'chol, right? V'chol, so that's the Vav. Zeh, the Hey. Einenu, right? It ends with Einenu ends with there's Einenu Shava, right? Li is the Yud, and there you have it. Einenu Shava Li, right? So there you have it. That's it's hidden. It's hidden. It's not this Galis. It's Biskasya. Its name HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden. Over here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden from this, and he fights our battles for us in every single generation. Right? We say that on Pesach, right? 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 That's the reference, what we're learning here. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is fighting with them all the time. And that's Amalek. They are the source of all the Ra in the world is Amalek. Any Ra that goes on in the world is stemming from Amalek. It stems from Amalek. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one hiding behind the scenes, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is battling for us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is battling for Klal Yisrael. We have to know that. And that's such a great salvation for us to remember, and that's why we read the Parsha, and we end off this idea that the Melchamas L'Hashem L'Amalek Midar Dar. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's battle. We don't have to worry what's going on. Right, the world is they're so nervous about Iran in this time, right? And they're so nervous about the Putin and this, and they're worried about all these different things, right? But really, what do we say? It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's all Hashem. It's all the Rabbeinu Shalom. He sees, the tzaddik sees right through it, and he knows we can blame this one and we blame that one, right? Some guys will say they blame Biden. The other one will say they blame this guy, that guy. They blame, right? They're all puppets, right? Biden's mamash a puppet. The guy's such a fool. He doesn't even know. He probably doesn't even know his name if you asked him his name, right? He's mamash a puppet. You go over to a puppet. Can a puppet answer you? Can you talk to the puppet? He's going to answer you. That's Biden, right? I'm sorry, but I'm telling you the truth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing you this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put someone like that in the office to show you, guys. Do you really think that he's running the country? Do you really think this guy's running the country? Can you really believe that? Do you really believe such a thing? You can't, right? Because why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to believe in him. So I believe in this case, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a little edge. He gives us a little edge to be able to be mamin in him, right? He gave us a little edge. He put someone like that in office. You know, if you get a good guy in office, like some people, you know, there are those that love Trump, there were those that hated Trump, right? So when he was in office, there were those that relied, oh, we have Trump in office, give all the Trump is in office. There were guys like that, right? But now Hakadosh Baruch Hu put somebody into the office over there in such a way that you mamish have to trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. V'al kein milchama l'Hashem b'Amalek midar dar ki Hashem yisbarach ba'atzmai kiviyachol tzarich l'lilchai imai b'chol dar v'dar. Hakadosh Baruch Hu himself fights with them in every generation. Ki ein mi sheyeda eich l'isnai imai. There's no one that knows how to conduct themselves with them. Ki im Hashem yisbarach ba'atzmai. Only the Rebbeinu Shalom knows. And that's such a nice, I think, an idea for us to understand and to remember when we're reading the Parashat Zohar, and to take it to heart and realize how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu tried his best. He tried his best, and he was able to. Yeshua was able to weaken Amalek, but he wasn't able to get rid of Amalek completely, because that's only something when Mashiach is going to come. We'll see the Amalek will be totally uprooted, and the rishis and the ra from the world will be totally uprooted. And that's why Amalek has to go, because all ra, all evil in the world is stemming from them. And that's what the whole idea is. Does anyone have any comments on this? Any questions? Any comments? Or we want to say anything? Rabbi Yehudi, you want to say something?
It's clear.
What?
It's clear.
Okay, all right. Do you want to add anything? Do you want to? No, I mean, we always like to have a discussion. If there's anyone want to say anything, no? Okay, all right, very good. So everyone shkoyach, all right, shkoyach.